Hey folks, really excited to share the 5-day fasting challenge with you all. So over the next 5 days, I'm going to be teaching you how to use fasting as a way of offsetting the negative effects of unwanted fat gain over the Christmas period. Okay, so this is just going to give you some strategies that's going to allow you to enjoy Christmas, enjoy the holiday period, and be in a really good position coming into January. The great thing about this as well is you can actually use this when you're going on holidays. A lot of my clients found this really effective when they were away during the summer. So whether it's a Christmas holiday or any other period of your life where there's just going to be a lot of extra calories, you can use fasting as a strategy. Okay. Now, this is a 5-day challenge, but I'm going to give you the kind of roadmap on how to apply this throughout December. Okay. So what we're going to be covering this week is today we're going to be going through the full overview of the challenge. So what to expect, how it's going to work, everything along those lines. Day 2, we're going to be talking about hunger. All right. This is a really good topic. And the better we can manage hunger, the easier all of this is going to be. Day 3, we're going to talk about food and fast planning. So what's the best times to fast, and also just how to get your food on track so it's going to be easier to eat better throughout the month as well. Day 4, we're going to talk about your movement, your workouts, how to make it work for your lifestyle. This schedule of December tends to be very, very erratic for people. So just how to make your training and your overall movement work for you this month as well. And then day 5 is probably the most powerful and important day. It's all about implementation, long-term compliance, and just your mindset around making something like this work and stick for you, regardless of what's going on. Okay, so to jump in first, when it comes to nutrition, there's 3 ways that we can manage basically how to mitigate the calories that we're consuming. Okay, and the more calories we consume, the more we're going to gain weight. The less calories you consume, the more we're going to drop weight. Okay, so calories in, calories out is a thing. And you've got 3 options here. So you can do dietary restriction. So you restrict what you eat. And this is where you might just take out, you might go off sugar, or you might go off gluten, or you might put out dairy out of your diet. And simply by restricting part of your diet, or you might go low carb, or you might go eliminate meat, whatever the preference is for you, by eliminating part of your diet, chances are you're going to also eliminate calories. And that's a way of just managing calorie intake. The second one, which is the most popular one that you all probably know, is calorie restriction. And this is where we just look at our overall calorie intake. You might track your calories for a week in like an app like MyFitnessPal, and you can see that you're consuming, let's just say 2,000 calories a day. And with that amount of food, you're not really losing weight. Okay, so you might drop your calories on a daily basis to 1,800 calories. So the fact that you've pulled out 200 calories a day on average, you then create a deficit and you start losing weight. Okay, and this is just you, instead of having X amount of food, you have a little bit less. So you might have, instead of having 200 grams of rice, you have 150 grams of rice. Okay, this is the most common in the fitness industry, the most common approach, but it's one of 3 ways. And then the final way is to actually use time restriction, which is what we're going to be doing for this challenge. The reason I like this is that the reality is with Christmas, you're probably going to have access to a lot of food, a lot of calories, and you don't want to be measuring things. You might want to restrict what you're eating. You might actually want to just enjoy your food, but minimize the kind of negative effects of all that extra food. Okay, and a really easy way around this is actually just restricting the time that you allow yourself to eat throughout this period. So this is a general overview, and I just want you to understand that this is it's a template. Okay, some of you guys are just not going to be able to do week 3 and week 4. It's going to be too advanced, or just you're just not going to want to do it. Some of you guys are just going to do the 5 days, which is totally fine as well. But I want to give you as much value as possible. I want you to see this month as a way of exploring this type of eating. And also, if you haven't done much fasting before, fasting mightn't be for you, which is totally fine as well. Okay, some people thrive on fasting. Personally, I really enjoy fasting. I find it like a really good lever to pull for me, but I've got a lot of clients who get great results and they hate fasting. They never do it. Okay, so You might have just jumped into the challenge as an experiment. You find like, okay, look, I've done it for a week or two. It's not for me. No problem. You just focus on calorie restriction or dietary restriction as your approach to manage your weight loss or weight gain. Okay. So basically every week we're going to make it a little bit more challenging. And the cool thing about this is like week 3 is Christmas week. Week 4 is like the week of New Year's. Okay. So it works really well. Week 1, we're going to do a 16-8 fast. Stop basically means that you're fasting for 16 hours and you're eating in an 8-hour window. Week 2 is an 18-hour fast and a 6-hour window. Week 3 is a 20-hour fast and a 4-hour window to eat. And then week 4 is 1 meal a day. Okay. So again, you don't have to do this stuff. This is a template. This is a challenge. And I just want you to look at this week as or at this week in particular as an experiment. Okay. So how to actually track your fasts, like fasting is super easy. You just don't eat. Like that's basically it. But sometimes it can be helpful to use something like the Zero app. This is a good way of seeing like it's basically just a simple timer. It's a free app. They have a paid option as well, but you can just download it, use it for free. And you just press start at the time you want to start your fast. And you can say, okay, I want to do a 16-hour fast. And it just tells you, okay, you can fast until this time tomorrow or whatever. But like just some simple maths for you guys, like 16-8, basically you would start your fast at noon and then you would finish it at 8 p.m. Okay. And this is kind of the most popular way of doing 16-8 because a lot of times people are eating between kind of 6 and 8 p.m. A lot of times you're kind of finish your dinner at this time. I also like 8 p.m. as a cutoff point because like a lot of the times we're kind of going to bed at 10 or 11 o'clock on average. I think most people are kind of going to bed at that time. So this is 2 hours, maybe 3 hours before bed, which is also good. You don't want to be eating right before bedtime. Okay. But just make it work for yourself. So an example would be between 12 and 8, you can eat whatever you want, basically. 18-6. So between 2 and 8, that's a 6-hour window. 20/4, that's a 4-hour window. And then 1 meal a day, you're just having most likely your dinner. Okay. So that is kind of how you would be looking at it. Obviously, you can pull these hours forwards or backwards. You might be eating earlier in the day or later in the day. You just make it work for you. So the reason that I like fasting, first of all, it's free and it's simple. Just don't eat. It's not a diet. It doesn't matter about your dietary preferences. Like in the nutrition field, there's so many dogmatic approaches and people saying like you have to do this or you can never do that, and if you do that you're wrong and you have to follow this way. Whereas fasting, it's completely there's no tribe, there's no tribalism. Okay. And it's just like, just don't eat. Okay. It's very, very simple. I really like that approach, and it's very inclusive for everyone, whether you're a vegan, a vegetarian, or you're like a keto carnivore person. Everyone can fast and everyone's like on the same team. It also allows you to understand what hunger feels like. I think that's probably the most powerful thing about this, and what you'll probably benefit from the most over the next few weeks is actually understanding like there's a big difference between just emotionally feeling like you should eat, or from a habit standpoint, oh, it's 3 p.m. or it's 9 a.m. I need to eat, versus actually being hungry. Okay. It's also an easy way to reduce calorie consumption. Like we were talking about with the 3 levers, if you only give yourself, instead of 12, 16 hours a day to eat, now you only give yourself 8 or 6 or 4 hours to eat, it's much harder to overconsume calories. So it's a nice thing to do as well. This is really important, guys, the next 2 slides, because this also mightn't be the best option for you if you're using it in a negative way. But like, this is going to be beneficial for you if you want to understand the differences between psychological and physical hunger. You want to learn the difference between head and body hunger, which is the same thing. You also want to learn not to fear hunger. So when I feel hungry, my body is telling me like I'm going to die. My brain's telling me I'm going to die if I don't eat. And obviously that's not the case. You're not going to die. It's also good for insulin sensitivity and also recalibrating your body's use of stored fuel. It helps you respect the process and privilege of eating. So you appreciate food a lot more when you go without it. You learn more about your body, and also it helps you lose fat if you're careful about it. and it allows you to take a break from just prepping food and having to eat, throughout the day. All right. So I like that as well. It frees up time for you if you're very busy and you're prepping 3 meals a day, and then all of a sudden you're only having 1 or 2 meals a day. That can be a lot of time saved. Now, it's not a good thing if you're using it as a way of kind of masking a disordered approach to eating. And also if you're fasting too often or for too long. And that's what I was saying at the start, like 1 meal a day is definitely not for everyone, and it mightn't be the best option for you. So just make sure that you're not also doing a lot of very heavy exercise and not sleeping enough. So if you're sleeping like less than 7 hours and you're training an hour 4 or 5 days a week, fasting might, and you're also struggling to maintain your body weight, fasting is going to be a bad idea for you. Okay. Also, if you're using poor food choices, so like you're binging, and then to offset the binges you're fasting, that's not a good pattern to be in either. And I know we're going into this through Christmas, so you will be overeating, but just thinking like you're not using it to offset awful food choices, and we're going to talk about this throughout the week. Like, yes, of course, enjoy whatever, enjoy desserts, all these things, but you don't want to be just having absolute garbage all day and be like, oh, I'll just do a long fast tomorrow, and that's just the way I'm going to eat long term. That's going to really affect your mindset when it comes to food. We want to still be focusing on the big rocks, eating good food most of the time, and then just using strategic fasting to help us with fat loss. So that is it for today, guys. I don't want these check-ins to be too long for you. I want them to be really, really quick, get to the point, so you're actually going to watch them and listen to them and know what to do. So if in doubt, ask a question in Mobility Mastery, tag me, so Conor O'Shea or Bradford. He's the assistant coach with me. And you will fast all this month. That's the goal. Okay, so the goal is to be doing this all this month. But you want to make it work for you. So like you don't have to do 16-8 every day. I think you should be aiming to, but you might only do it for 5 days. And then 18-6, same thing. You might scale it. Okay. So let's just say if you did follow the whole month, you might do 16-8 every day, 18-6, 5 or 6 days. The 20/4, you might do it on Christmas. You might do it maybe another day that week. And then 1 meal a day, you might do it once or twice that week. Of course, you can do it every day that week as well, but that's just a little bit more advanced. Okay.